I would say those are views that I just expressed. In terms of all the documents that are going to be released to the committee, well, we encourage everybody to look at those documents and look at what was said and look at the context.
President mean by total victory? That we will never leave Iraq until we have total victory. What does that mean?
Free and democratic Iraq in the heart of the Middle East, because a free and democratic Iraq in the heart of the Middle East will be a major blow to the ambitions.
If they ask us to leave, then we'll leave.
Okay, I'm trying to respond. Well, a free and democratic Iraq in the heart of the broader Middle East will be a major blow to the ambitions of Al-Qaeda and their terrorist associates. They want to establish or impose their rule over the broader Middle East. We saw that in the Zawahiri letter that was released earlier this week by the intelligence community. Well, Helen, the President recognizes that we are engaged in a global war on terrorism. And when you're engaged in a war, it's not always pleasant, and it's certainly a last resort. But when you engage in a war, you take the fight to the enemy. You go on the offense, and that's exactly what we are doing. We are fighting them there so that we don't have to fight them here. September 11th taught us.
It had nothing to do with, Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11.
Yeah, well, you have a very different view of the war on terrorism, and I'm sure you're opposed to the broader war on terrorism. The President recognizes this requires a comprehensive strategy, and that this is a broad war, that it is not a law enforcement matter.
Terry. Sorry, on what basis do you say Helen is opposed to the broader war on terrorism?
Well, she certainly expressed her concerns about Afghanistan and Iraq and going into those two countries. I think I can go back and pull up her comments over the course of the past couple of years.
And speak for her, which is odd.
I said she may be, because certainly if you look at her comments over the course of the past couple of years, she has expressed her concerns. She has expressed her concerns.
Let me get back to the President's encounter with the troops, if I can. You said that the choreography of this was because of a technological challenge involved in the satellite feed. Well, what does that mean?
No, I'm just saying that you have delays and things like that when you have a satellite feed, and so obviously there's going to be some coordination going on when you're setting up an event like this.
So the choreography...
I think you're missing the broader point of what this event was about. And what this event was about was to highlight an important milestone in the history of Iraq. That is the upcoming referendum. The Iraqi people are going to be able to freely express themselves this weekend once again as they cast their vote for the Constitution that was drafted by their elected leadership. And that was the point of the event. It was also an opportunity for the President to continue expressing the appreciation of the entire nation for the courage and sacrifice of our men and women in uniform. We're greatly appreciative for all that they're doing, and these were troops that are on the ground in Iraq. They know firsthand what is going on, and so the President wanted to talk about some important topics that are very important to all Americans, and that is the security situation in Iraq, as well as the upcoming referendum that the Iraqi people will be participating in this weekend. In fact, today, my understanding is that some of the Iraqi citizens that are in hospitals began casting their ballots already.
So you're saying this was not a staged conversation for PR purposes?
This is an event
Sharon,
where there's coordination that goes on, and we work closely with the Department of Defense. They work to pull together some troops for the President to visit with and highlight important topics that are going on right now on the ground in Iraq. The President's going to continue speaking out about what we're working to achieve in Iraq, and he's going to continue talking about the vital mission that we're working to achieve there. The stakes are high in Iraq. This is right up there at the top of our list of priorities, because as the President said in his remarks, his most solemn duty and the most solemn duty of our men and women in uniform, like those he was talking to, is the safety and security of the American people. But I just don't know if some are suggesting that what our troops were saying was not their own thoughts, because it clearly was.
Now, we all saw the event, so without getting into what the President said and what the troops said, can you just talk specifically to the choreography? Did the soldiers know what questions they would be asking? Did they rehearse?
No, I really can't, because we coordinate this with the Department of Defense, and you might want to direct questions to the Department of Defense, because when we do these events, and we appreciate all the help that they provide, the Department of Defense takes the lead in terms of pulling some troops together so that we can do events like this.
So you personally do not know if those soldiers rehearsed their answers before they were on air live?
Well, my understanding is that someone from the Department of Defense was talking to them ahead of time, but I don't know. I was with the President, so.
Can you find out the answer?
Yeah, I think you might want to talk to the Department of Defense. Like I said, they're kind of the point person in terms of coordinating this with our troops, and we appreciate all that they do to help coordinate an event like this. But I think what the American people heard was some very important information from our men and women in uniform. These are men and women who are on the ground in Iraq, and I think we can get caught up in some of these side issues because that's all this is, but let's talk about what was most important. What's important is that the Iraqi people are going to the polls this weekend, and they're going to vote on a constitution in a free Iraq. Just 3 years ago, the Iraqi people were under a brutal, oppressive dictator, a dictator that killed thousands and thousands of people.
How many have we killed?
We've liberated 25 million both in Iraq and in Afghanistan.
Have we killed?
Go ahead.
When the prosecutor tells somebody...
Helen, I'm sorry, Bob. I just can't let this go. Our men and women in uniform go out of their way not to target innocent civilians. They go out of their way to target those who are our enemies and to bring them to justice. They are making the world safer for our children and grandchildren. Go ahead.
We moved to other barren ground.
That was Scott McClellan, or is Scott McClellan, at a White House press briefing. He's being peppered with a number of questions about Harriet Miers, the war in Iraq, but most particularly about the telecom